Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do another quick video, kind of in line with this ball Earth, flat Earth debate, but also focusing on homosexuality. And I think it's just becoming more and more obvious now that agenda is literally permeated all parts of flat Earth. And, I think it's a relevant thing to discuss with people, what they think about it. So I had a baller, accuse me of being gay in a chat. And, I use that as it's a good opportunity. I think not even just in these debates settings, but even in real life, when somebody says, oh, you're gay or whatever, and that's like, a derogatory kind of slanderous term, it's a good way to ask them about that. It's like, well, why do you think that being gay is bad? Why are you using that in a negative term? Why does pretty much the entire world understand that that is a non-natural thing, and use it in a negative way constantly to sort of demasculate, somebody else? It is effeminate, everybody knows it. So I think it's a good place to actually, lead to, a spiritual conversation that, in my opinion, will bring that person to the end times immediately. The word sodomy itself is proof that we're in the end times, if the God of the Bible is true. And I believe he's been showing himself to be more and more true and alive and working in the world every day. And because sodomy comes from the place, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, in the Bible, and not a blade of grass grows there anymore. And so that term is used now, in the courts, in legal proceedings, legal documentation. It is understood, what sodomy is, and it was reflective of the behaviors that were going on, the acts that were conducted in ancient Sodom and Gomorrah. And so people have looked for, Sodom and Gomorrah in modern day. There are places that people think that it is, because there is no growth of anything there as prophesied. And, if that's a real event, one would think that, like I've said in other videos, the God of the Bible will not change his mind. He's going to deal with that in the same way. And this is why I believe all this like sort of jawboning and war stuff is coming in the news more. It's just the whole world needs to be sort of cleansed. But America, in my opinion, is the ringleader for that agenda. And it's just it's commonplace, here in America, the homosexuality, the leadership. Many of our leaders are, not just homosexual, but pedophiles. And so like there's just many layers to this of the evil, from the top down. And the everyday person knows that it's wrong. That's why people insult other people, calling them gay. Because we all know in our own mind, in our own heart, in our own spirit, that it's not natural. It's effeminate and it's unclean. And so, just to use an analogy, it's like if there are a group of people on Earth who just found it pleasurable to roll around in feces, or just even just touch feces. They found that, pleasurable, and they just did that, wherever they walked around, they just touched it, and they enjoyed it. They held it in their hand, and they were like, feels great. We would obviously consider those people as mentally sick, and to be isolated and dealt with, because that's disgusting. It's unclean. We all know that. Everybody with common sense would say that. And this is the same common sense, the same, part of our brain that's evaluating, homosexual acts, is that putting, a male private part near feces and, interacting with feces is disgusting. It's worse than just going and touching it, with our hands, because at least your hand can be cleaned, and your body will never, quote unquote, remember that you did that, as long as you clean your hand, immediately and don't have any cuts or anything. A male's private part will remember that interaction, and it's disgusting. The very place that should be bringing life, into the world and producing life and all that, is literally stuck in something worse than a garbage can. And so we all know that is unclean in the very least, and it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And so again, we're not all sexually pure. Even heterosexuals like myself, we can be convicted of again all sins according to the book of James. So I'm not throwing people under the bus who acknowledge the words that I'm saying are true, even though they struggle with that type of desire. That's a different group of people. I'm talking more about these staunch ballers who like sort of joke around about gay stuff, make gay jokes and all that. I'm kind of focusing on those people because those are the ones that we generally speaking interact with in these hangouts. They're mentally unwell, and I think that it's okay to ask somebody their opinion on other topics to see how intelligent they are, because like I said, everybody in the world, because the ballers are big on consensus, and what the quote unquote world thinks, everybody in the world would deem touching feces for pleasure as a disgusting thing. And so why then do they not utilize those same logical centers, that same logical filter to evaluate a man putting their penis near feces for pleasure? It's worse. And so I think it's okay to not take these people seriously. God doesn't, we don't, and it's not wise to take people like that seriously, because they're mentally unwell to think that way, and to think that is a way to like live life in a quote unquote functional way. That is a dysfunction. That is a low life, in my opinion. People who seek pleasure, and me included, anybody who seeks pleasure in things that are disgusting, unclean, unnatural, against obviously the laws of the Bible fundamentally, that person is dysfunctioning and not intelligent, and in the very least. And so it's okay to like either completely dismiss their opinion or just not take it seriously. I think that we still do have an obligation to interact with people, and engage with them and debate them and all that, and fight for our cause, for the truth of the Bible, defend God in a world that is filled with so many lies. But I would say use interactions like that when people do bring out the quote unquote gay card as a way to like start a spiritual discussion, because the term sodomy, like I said, in and of itself is proof that we're in the end times. Why would people all around the world use a term from a fairy tale fiction book and use it in the legislation and all that to describe an act? Why would they do that? Why would they pick that term as a way, again, to describe things that happen, that are happening right now? It doesn't make sense. And so the term sodomy in and of itself, in my opinion, is proof that we're in the end times. And it just proves that the leadership around the world are taking part in a lot of these acts. And then their sort of propaganda has dripped down to us. But even people with common sense know that it's wrong, by the fact that they use the term gay in a derogatory way. And so even people on God's left-hand side, in my opinion, know that judgment is coming. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.